In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of a short story through to line edits of a full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls? Start saving thousands in interest and fees and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Listen, folks, I'm here to tell you our political system is broken. The two-party system is dead. They have become one and the same.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host. Favorite host.
This is always the killer, the one that just destroys that never Trump argument. Hillary Clinton will fill the Supreme Court with liberals. She'll also appoint federal judges with a liberal bent to them.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Don't let anybody tell you that it's corporations and businesses that create jobs.
Arrogant, sanctimonious, self-righteous, sabotaging Trump.
Everybody's got to be covered. This is an un-Republican thing for me to say, because a lot of times they say, no, the lower 25% they can't afford. I am going to take care of everybody. I don't care if it costs me votes or not. Everybody's going to be taken care of much better than they're taken care of now. The government's going to pay for it, but we're going to save so much money on the other side.
ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS.
Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Maybe that's what I said.
What realized is that the Bill Kristols of the world, the never Trump people, they were just never serious. They never had any kind of ground game. They never had an actual candidate they could pick.
And in a surprising and disturbing move today, the Libertarian vice presidential candidate just agreed that rifles are weapons of mass destruction and people on the terror watch list should not be allowed to purchase guns. So in other words, the party of freedom is liberty for me but not for thee. Go figure.
Compromise where you can. Where you can't, don't. Even if everyone is telling you that something wrong is something right. Even if the whole world is telling you to move, it is your duty to plant yourself like a tree.
Okay, so you may notice the show has a new graphic, new intro, and we've made a lot of changes. That is partially because at this point, I really don't feel like I have much of a home anywhere when it comes to politics. We used the original intro because our plan was to declare open war on Obama and his policies, and I thought we were making some progress with this. We had one of the best crops ever for the folks that were running for presidential election in 2016, and we got hosed. Now, because of that, I started looking for another home and started looking seriously at the Libertarian Party. Well, you may have noticed at the end of the new intro, I mentioned something that was rather disturbing for me. That actually happened on Friday. Friday, the Libertarian vice presidential candidate stated that he believed that in the hands of mentally ill, unstable people, rifles could be considered weapons of mass destruction. He also agreed that people on the terror watch list should not be allowed to buy firearms, and he even doubled down the next day and said that he actually thought that pistols were more dangerous than rifles. So my question is, how did the party... I mean, come on. I've had Nicholas Sarwark on my show twice. I've heard the rhetoric of we're the party that wants to take over the world and leave you alone. I'm sorry, and I know Nicholas listens to the show from time to time, and I'm trying to have him back on to explain the position change, because I know that the libertarian folks that are like, well, I'm still voting for him anyway, because they're like, that guy's not really a libertarian, he just came onto the ticket to make the ticket stronger. How does selling out one of your main party platforms make your ticket stronger? Isn't that not what we've been watching happen for the last 20 some odd years with both the Democrats and the Republicans? They just keep kicking us to the curb and doing the things that they want to do. I mean, I'm sorry, but at this point, folks, I have a sneaking suspicion that each party is doing everything they can to simply make sure that they rearrange the seats at the table to make sure their party gets a larger share, to make sure that they can hold on to power. And the scary thing about that is, nobody seems to be noticing, because right after that statement was made, I started telling everybody, look, I can't support these people anymore. I understand that I got involved in the Libertarian Party because I was hoping to bring choice to my state, Oklahoma, specifically because we have very archaic election laws, and it's really hard to get any other parties listed on the ballot. The Libertarian Party actually managed to pull it off, and then they had for the first time ever, real serious people looking at them. I've actually heard Nicholas Sarwark, and he said the same thing to me, that after the primaries were settled, his phone started ringing off the hook. He was on the phone with newspapers and TV outlets that had never shown any interest at all in the Libertarian Party before, and the first thing they do when they get the spotlight, they sell us down the river, little bit at a time. It's the same thing we've been complaining about the other two parties now for decades. And yet now these folks that were telling us that they were going to be different, that they were going to do things differently, that they were going to take over the world and leave us alone, have basically just proved that all they're really trying to do, just like everyone else, is rearrange the chairs at the table to make sure their side gets a bigger seat at the table. You know, bigger share of the table when they sit down. That's all they're really looking for. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it, and I'm going to start openly fighting it everywhere I see it, regardless of if they have an R behind their name, a D behind the name, an L behind the name, or an I behind the name. I don't care who you are. If you're not shooting straight with the American people, it is now my job to take you apart. And I know that means that I'm going to be working 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, 366 days a year. And yes, I said that wrong on purpose, because there are maybe 3 people in D.C. that I consider somewhat honest. And I know for a fact that those 3 people probably still have skeletons of their own. So yes, I know what I'm saying I'm going to do. I'm hoping at some point I don't have to do it alone, but the simple fact of the matter is I put that line from the most recent Civil War movie in on purpose. Because that was actually, believe it or not, the moment that I was watching that movie was when I realized that with as bad as this election cycle had gotten, I could not get behind anybody that wound up where that is where we are now. Because I knew for a fact I couldn't support Hillary, and I knew even back then there was no way I was going to be able to support Trump. But what solidified it for me was sitting there after watching all of the things that I've outlined in this intro that they have both said, and they still have people that want to vote for them. Corruption is rampant everywhere in both parties, and probably in the Libertarian Party. I don't know, because they don't really make much money yet, so there's not really much of a way to tell. So maybe they are still somewhat innocent in this, but what I don't like is the fact that they apparently brought over a Democrat just because they thought he was going to make their ticket bigger, and the first thing he did was sell out the entire ideal of the Libertarian Party, which is, hey, Constitution. Other than that, we want to pretty much leave you alone. Well, what happened to the Second and the Fourth Amendments? Even if it is a very small group of people, that's how this stuff starts. It starts in increments. We give them an inch, and then they keep working until they get a foot, and then they keep working until they get 3 feet, and then they keep working until they get a mile, and then it's 2 miles, and then it's 5 miles. You know, there's a quote by I think it's Thomas Paine. I'm probably going to butcher it because lately my memory hasn't been what it once was. That a country formed in Constitution. Nah, I'm going to screw it up. I'm going to look it up on the break. I know I've got it here somewhere because that was actually what made me think of it. Thought I was tagged in it somewhere, but I can't really find it now. All right, so anyway, on to what we were actually really going to be talking about tonight. I think I've vented enough about all three parties and the fact that I'm pretty well disgusted, don't have a home. I actually am working with a group of folks who, for the moment, have requested to remain fairly anonymous because we're still getting our stuff together. But they are planning on hopefully forming a new party at some point, which we hope to make a home for all the displaced conservatives. I hope to be as key in that as I possibly can. And hopefully, as things continue to coalesce over there, we can bring you more and more information. Now, back to what we're actually going to talk about today, and that is, of course, Milwaukee. Now, I have some questions about Milwaukee. Has anybody noticed that lately it seems like no matter what, that you have the chief of police on there talking and the sheriff on there talking, and they're talking, well, we're going to have the National Guard standing by, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to make sure things like this don't happen again, and then they happen again the very next night. So, I have a theory about that. You're probably not going to like it, but before we get into all that, I have a few things I want you to listen to. We're going to start with a speech from a few weeks ago after one of the last attacks happened. And it goes a little something like this.
We don't need to leave the Hill this week or any week without assuring the American people that we understand the problem of police misconduct in America. We understand the murders of innocent black Americans. We get it. We understand the problems faced by our law enforcement officers, and I don't want to diminish that in this conversation today. We understand the problems faced by law enforcement officers, most of whom put on the uniform every day and serve and protect our communities. Republicans, what on earth why are you recalling and not giving us a debate on gun violence? Why not give it a hearing? Give us a debate. Give us an up or down vote on our legislation on gun violence. Why? Last night, while on the floor, we were advised that several hundred protesters were en route to the Capitol, demonstrating and protesting and exercising the First Amendment rights, their First Amendment rights, by demanding that we, as elected officials, protect their sons and daughters and their grandsons and granddaughters, their brothers and their sisters. At 10 p.m., the Congressional Black Caucus, along with other members from other caucuses, went outside of the Capitol at the West Front, and we met the demonstrators. We spoke to them, we embraced them, and we helped lead their march to the White House. They told us with unambiguous clarity that Black Lives Matter, that the movement is serious, it is organized, and they demand legislative action now, and that we don't leave this place until it's done. We applaud the demonstrators last night for telling us that the deaths in Baton Rouge and Falcon Heights give them the energy and determination they need to pull off the Band-Aid of the stain of irresponsible police killings in America. The two acts of murder this week that we all so sadly know must be addressed by law enforcement. It must be addressed by the Congress of the United States. If we fail to act, this will be a long, hot summer. In the rally audience last evening, a young lady held up a sign that read, "I wept more last night than I slept." End of quote. Colleagues, America is weeping. They are angry. They are frustrated. And Congress, and when I say Congress, I mean the Republicans in Congress, are refusing to address gun violence in America that targets black men and black women and Hispanic men and Hispanic women, and yes, even police officers. The Congressional Black Caucus is frustrated. You want to say we're mad? We're mad. We are determined to take our advocacy now to a higher level.
We're determined now to take our advocacy to a higher level. Now remember, I told you this was several weeks ago, and now look at what's happening. I mean, this was before the summer. Obviously, you can tell that because he said if we don't do anything about this and we go home like we always do, there's going to be a long, hot summer. Sounds like a warning to me. Somehow we missed it, but it sounds like a warning to me. Now, there's another thing that I want you to hear, and this was actually the first time in a while that the hair on the back of my neck actually stood up.
Back. White media, get to the back. Black media, come to the front. White media, excuse me, you. Excuse me, sir. Somebody needs to tell this person to get to the back. Yo, somebody needs to tell these folks to get to the back. Don't mask up. We're not British anarchist bullshit today. Get to the back, or you will be out from this fucking march. You are not afraid to put people out. You are not afraid to put people out. White people to the back, black people to the front. That includes media.
All right, so apologies. I usually do my best to try to make sure that the audio is edited. I do realize that a couple of very lightly heard curse words skipped through there. I'll make sure I edit it before I send it off to any of the affiliates, so I apologize if I've offended anyone. But I wanted you to hear that, and I know I've played it before, but it takes on a whole new meaning when we get into the meat of the show here in just a minute. Because the simple fact of the matter is, folks, we're in trouble, and we never saw it coming. Because we thought in 2008, those of us everyday working class Americans who really didn't vote for the guy, I don't know very many people that did, honestly, vote for Barack Obama, but we still did what we always do. We listened to the speech, we bought into the hype, we tried to come together as Americans, and all they've done this entire time now for 8 years is continue to take us apart. They've continued to separate us. They've continued to categorize us. Does anybody remember when we would say, our politicians would say, my fellow Americans, and actually mean it? Nobody thinks of us as fellow Americans anymore. We're hyphenated Americans. We are less than human if we disagree with one another. And I have to admit, folks, that there was a time when I was exactly the same way. I would be the first one to march off to war if I thought somebody was doing something that I disagreed with, because, by God, it's my country and it's going to be a certain way. And I understand that to a point. Believe me, I do. But what I don't understand is how we have let hatred and vitriol take over our country. You see it happening every day on social media. You see it happening. And see, that's the thing. It used to just stay on social media. It used to be a bunch of keyboard warriors, and they would just sit in their mom's basement, eating their Cheetos, and talking smack to nameless, faceless people on the internet. But the problem is we've been doing that now for a long time. A long time. And it's not just happening on the internet anymore. It's now bleeding over into the streets. It's now bleeding over into, well, if something bad happens in my town or a cop does something that I don't like in my town, I'm going to burn it down. Because there's injustice in the world. Folks, there's a right way and a wrong way to deal with injustice. But what we're seeing is a generational problem. You know, I've had Dr. Randy Arrington on my show before, and I think actually if this continues to be a topic that has to come up, I think I may have him back on again, or at least find the audio where he says what I'm about to say. As someone who studied government and sociology, politics, etc., and someone who has a PhD, he's come to a pretty rational conclusion. It takes about 2 generations to change a populace. We're now looking at the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th generation of people, and I'm not going to say people of color because there are just as many white people at this point that are doing it too, that are now living off the government. Their grandparents were on welfare, their parents were on welfare, now they've become parents and they're on welfare. So government subsidy and government help is all they know. The problem is, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, each party is just as guilty as the other. When it comes to government subsidy and food stamp programs and etc., one of them talks a really big game about how they're going to make all these changes, and then they never do. The closest thing we have ever gotten to any type of welfare reform was under a Democrat. And for God's sake, it was Bill Clinton. Now, I know he got to put his stamp of approval on it, but let's not forget who was running Congress by then. So yeah, it became his because he passed it. But I think in some ways it was one of those damned if I do, damned if I don't type situations, because he already knew how angry the American public were at that point. But unfortunately, this isn't the time when we can just come in and give the Democrats all the power and expect changes, or give the Republicans all the power and expect changes, because there's no difference between the two brands anymore. The scary thing is, I made an analogy. I think it was Thursday night. It was either Thursday night or Wednesday night, because I was talking about how everybody that was mad because I wasn't supporting Trump or Hillary, they were making it like because I was supporting a third party, I was automatically supporting one of them. Well, I used an analogy. At the time, I didn't realize how much more sense the analogy would make from another perspective. But I had mentioned that, you know, if I buy Dr. Pepper, then I'm not supporting Coke or Pepsi. Well, of course, everybody started chiming in without bothering to do any research, and they said, well, I know that Pepsi owns Dr. Pepper because I see their logo on my can. Well, no, I know Coke owns them because I see their logo on my can. No, what you see is that in certain regions of the country, Pepsi bottles Dr. Pepper because they don't own very many of their own plants, and in other regions of the country, Coke does. Now, Coke owns the external rights, so anything else that's sold for Dr. Pepper outside of the United States is technically owned by Coke for the marketing purposes, but it's still owned by Snapple Incorporated or Dr. Pepper. But the thing that I didn't really think about at the time, and it didn't really hit me until the announcement the Libertarian vice presidential candidate made on Friday, is while Dr. Pepper isn't specifically owned by Coke or Pepsi, it is reliant on them for its survival. The Libertarian Party is much the same way. They pull from both parties to try to make themselves viable. So when they figure out they're pulling more from one or the other, then they simply start changing their rhetoric just enough so that people come in from the other side. And it's one of the reasons why they nixed Austin Peterson. They were afraid, terrified in fact, that too many people from the conservative movement were going to be hopping into the Libertarian Party and making things go more than a little bit nuts. And it's just sad that we've gotten to this point that the government is not willing to do anything. The government is not willing to do anything about what's going on. Before you say there's nothing that they can do, we're going to take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to play some audio that's actually from some stuff that has been happening in Milwaukee, and then we'll talk about some of the ways the government actually could fix this if they bothered to, but they don't care, because if they fixed it, we wouldn't need them anymore. And it's kind of becoming a recurring theme for me, folks. I'm really starting to understand that the reason we have as many problems in this country as we do is because if the government actually fixed the problems, we wouldn't need them anymore.
Stay tuned. Things are going to get real interesting. You're listening to the Spark Radio Network.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live into the second half of the show already. My, oh my, where does the time go? All right, so what have we been talking about so far? The world's gone crazy and the government's watching it burn. I wonder why that is. I wonder why it is that they're so busy worrying about shoring up their own power bases that they're willing to float completely corrupt candidates, and even the party that says they're going to be different than everybody else suddenly throws their principles out the window to get a bigger seat at the table. I wonder why that is. Pretty simple, folks. They don't care about us. They haven't cared about us in a very long time. They haven't been the servants that we tell them they're supposed to be for decades now. And we stopped paying attention. We let them take our freedoms piece by piece, inch by inch, mile by mile. Now we have very few of them left. A lot of what used to be freedoms are completely overregulated. And they don't care. The problem is we let them do it, though. And the scary thing about when we let them do those things, and I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again, When we let them take our freedoms away from us, whether it's incrementally or all at once, or for every inch that we let them take, everyone who has fought, bled, and died to protect those freedoms, we're spitting on them when we let that happen. I want you to understand that. When the government tells you that they need to do this to make sure that you're safe, a la the Patriot Act, or TSA, or whatever crazy other crap they've come up with that's become some behemoth that's so completely out of control that at this point we're just wanting to try to find a way to tranquilize it and try to get it shrunk back down again. We're allowing the people, no matter whether it was 100 years ago or yesterday, or 200 years ago or yesterday, we're allowing their memories to be tarnished. Everyone who has stood up when everybody else was ready to sit down, everyone who stood on that wall to keep us safe, everyone who's walked that line, everyone who's paid that ultimate price, we're spitting on them every time. That's why I've been so angry about this election cycle. We have gotten to the point where we are seriously looking at either electing someone who should be a criminal or someone who is criminally insane. That is how screwed up this election cycle is. That is a prime example of how screwed up this country is. And the simple fact of the matter is, it gets even worse. You know, remember before the break I was talking about how for the longest time we just had these keyboard warriors and they would talk smack to each other online and they would do this and they would do that and everybody would be like, hey, Junior, get a job. Get out of your parents' basement. This is now Junior out of parents' basement.
Black vote! 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 How about niggas? Black twins! You hear me on being? Is they white? Is they white racist? They white! They white, get their ass! Hurry that bitch up! Hey! Hey, they beating up every white person. They jumping every white person. Man, no white person come down Sherman. He white. Beat his shit. That's what it's hard. Hey, look! White boy! They beating up every white person! They beating up every... They made the squad cars leave! They not! They beat somebody else! Look, they beat somebody else! Look! Look! Look, bro, look. Oh, look, y'all, look. Oh, my God, look. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God, look. Who they just beat up, bro? Now, see, this ain't nothing to play about. I think they just beat some bitch for no reason. They bust her window and everything.
It's sad because, you know, this is what happened because they're not helping the black community. Like, you know, the rich people, they got all this money and they're not like, you know, trying to give us none. It's...
Black power in this motherfucker, man. Ooh! No, they ain't tasing.
All right, the sad thing is, folks, I could have pulled enough audio to let you listen to that for the entire 60 minutes that I was on the air. This is what's been happening in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the last 2 days. I haven't heard anything about tonight yet. I haven't taken the time to look because I was busy prepping what I was going to talk about. But this is where we are today, folks. We now have black people that were beating white people on purpose because they're angry. We have black people that were burning shops. Now, that's nothing new. But there's just outright coming down the street, grabbing every white person they saw, beating the crap out of them, trashing cars that had white people in them, etc. That's all pretty new. So I have a question. What is it that they're hoping to accomplish? Are they hoping to bring attention to their plight? I don't think so. I think they're angry. I think they're fed up, and I don't think they know what else to do. Because they live in a world where the police are the bad guy. And I understand that every profession has people that shouldn't be in it. And unfortunately, it shows up a lot worse in professions like police officers, firefighters, first responders, all the way across the board. Because if they're there for the wrong reasons, or if they shouldn't be there at all, it puts a bad spin on everyone who is there for the right reasons. But the simple fact of the matter is, folks, they don't tell us about the ones that do the good jobs every day. Now, here's the kicker. We've been spending all night talking about how the government's not going to do anything about it, because if they actually fixed it, we wouldn't need them. Now, here's the kicker. You want to know who else is complicit in this? The media. You know why they're complicit in this? Because at some point, somebody decided that the media needed to be for profit. And I'm not talking about me and talk show hosts and other stuff like that. I understand that stuff has to be profit-driven. I mean, we're basically giving opinions. I'm talking about actual news sites that tell news stories that are supposed to be unbiased. There's not a single TV station out there that does the news anymore, or TV network out there that does the news anymore, that doesn't have some form of a slant. Because it's all based on market share. It's all based on ratings. Because the more people that are watching the ads, the more money that TV station and TV network get to make. And believe me, I'm running a radio network. I understand how this stuff works. The more people we have listen, the more likely we are to have them pay attention to our sponsors and interact with our sponsors and buy their products. So believe me, I understand that you want people to listen. But the difference is, I'm never, ever going to allow anyone that is on this station or a part of the Spark Radio Network to put a spin on something that makes it completely untrue. And the simple fact of the matter is, if we were actually getting a fair representation of all of the cops that put themselves in harm's way every day and don't come home after doing the right thing, compared to the handful that do the wrong thing, people wouldn't have such a bad picture of what police officers actually do. But we can't talk about the positive things. We can't talk about the police officer who pushes someone out of the way and gets hit by a car. We can't talk about the police officer who pushes someone out of the way and takes a bullet. We can't talk about the police officer who managed to keep a kid from being kidnapped because he was in the right place at the right time. We can't talk about any of that stuff because nobody wants to read that. We want to read the most sensational stuff possible because that's what grabs our attention. Again, we're going back to the generational cycle. It's been about 2 generations since media became strictly for profit. And we are watching all of these different things that take about 2 generations to culminate right in front of our eyes. We've had complete control of our education system from the government for about 2 generations. We now have some of the... I can't even say what I was about to say, but we have people that are basically just smart enough to operate machinery at about 70% of our population. In my state alone, in Oklahoma, the average comprehension for reading is about 4th grade for an adult. That's the average. Now, I can't speak for anywhere else, but from what I've seen going on in a lot of other places, I'm pretty sure it's about the same thing. So we're looking at 2 generations worth of government control of education. We're looking at 2 generations to 3 generations worth of people that are feeling hopeless and stuck because their whole family, they've grown up watching their whole family live on the government dole. They don't know what else to do because they could take a job, but then they would lose benefits. Or they could get a job and work just enough hours to make sure they don't lose their benefits and get a little bit of extra money, but then they still have to keep the benefits. Or they can get a job that gives them just enough to get them off the benefits, but then they don't have enough because they still needed the benefits. These were supposed to be safety nets. They became spider webs. We gave government control of the education system because we wanted them to make sure that everything was uniform. It is uniform, but it's been uniform in the wrong direction. This is what we're dealing with. We have now 2 generations again of media being for-profit based. So all of these things are coming to fruition all right now, and what it has given us is an entire segment of our population that thinks they have been unfairly treated. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't, but instead of doing anything to try to fix it on their own, they start taking it out on everybody else. Look, folks, I could sit at home and I could whine and I could complain and I could get a government check. I've been in pain for 22 years, constant pain for 22 years. But I get up every single day and I go to work for 8 hours and I come home and I write articles and I put together news stories and I do radio and I produce radio and when I can find time, I work a little bit here and there on websites. I'm constantly doing something because you know what it does? It makes me realize that no matter how badly I feel, as long as I can still accomplish something, I feel better at the end of the day. I may not always feel great, but I feel better. And that's part of what we've lost here, because we have all of these people now that are dependent on the government. And we have a government that is no longer looking out for the general welfare. Does anybody remember that is part of what they were created for, was to look out for general welfare? And I don't mean checks. I mean general well-being. They're not doing it anymore. Look at Ferguson. Look at Wisconsin. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. And now we have 2 complete morons standing at the head of the Democratic and the Republican parties telling us that they're the ones that are going to fix it. They're the ones that are going to make it better. One of them is going to make it better because she understands the Black Lives Matter movement. She's been dealing with it now for a while. The other one's going to make it better by building a wall. Yeah, because walls make things so much better. We have enough walls in our country. We started building imaginary walls as soon as we started hyphenating everybody. We need to get back to just being Americans again. Not African Americans, not Irish Americans, not Jewish Americans, not Chinese Americans, not Vietnamese Americans, not Native Americans, just Americans. As long as we allow them to tear us apart, then we cannot stand. When Lincoln said what he said about the country, a nation divided cannot stand, he wasn't just talking about the states, he was talking about us as a people. If we continue to allow ourselves to be divided, then we will fall. The simple fact of the matter is, folks, whether you're Democrat or Republican, we've got to find a way to get back towards the center. There are enough things that we could find in the middle that if we could just agree on those key things, the country would already start being a better place. But we can't do that because we're too busy being mad at each other. And the media keeps us mad at each other. Look at how they report it when a cop shoots when a cop shoots a white person versus when a cop shoots a black person. 33-year-old male shot in armed robbery. 18-year-old black male shot in armed robbery. Never mind the fact that the black male was waving a gun. That's never part of the story. If it's somebody who's white that's shot, their race is never usually mentioned. Even in this latest incident, which completely floored me, apparently it was a black cop that shot the black perpetrator, and they're still beating up white people. So again, Black Lives Matter unless you're in a blue uniform. I don't understand how we can continue to let them manipulate us. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's even acknowledging that it's happening. They look at the media, they pick the flavor they agree with, and they allow themselves to be spoon-fed. And I will say that to you, whether you have an R on your registration card, a D on your registration card, an I on your registration card, or an L on your registration card. If you're doing nothing but getting your news from an echo chamber, then you're doing something wrong. Because the truth is often somewhere in the middle. And that's where this country needs to go. We cannot be too far one direction or the other. As my grandfather used to tell me, he used to swear up and down that it was some sort of an Indian saying. I'm not sure, but whether it's, and it went a little something like this: whether it's the right wing or the left wing, it's still part of the same bird. So we can either keep hanging out on the fringes, or we ourselves can start trying to find ways to fix this mess. It really is that simple. We can either continue to rely on the government, who continues to do nothing but shore up their own power and make sure that we have less and less and less freedom and less of a voice, or we can finally stand up and start doing something. And I'm not talking about burning down your own town. The easiest way to effect change is to remember that we are all still people. Whether we disagree or not, whether we have the same skin or not, whether we're Trump supporters, whether we're not Trump supporters, whether we're Clinton supporters, whether we're not Clinton supporters, the simple fact of the matter is most of the people that are on those, have made those decisions, they're reacting out of fear. They're reacting out of conditioning. They've spent the last 20 years being told blue banner's the way to go, or the red banner's the way to go, the other one's evil. Look, I will admit there were times when I fell for this. But it's because you keep watching one party that you don't agree with slide further and further into some crazy stuff, but you don't realize the party that you're fighting, bleeding, and dying to try to preserve and show everybody that it's not what everybody thinks it is doing the exact same thing. The only difference between the Democratic and the Republican parties up until now is that each party has wanted us to go in the same direction, but one of them is trying to get us there on a Japanese bullet train, the other one's using a handcar. Guess what? The Republican Party's not using a handcar anymore. They're using Lord Cheesy Poof. And the Trump train is a bullet train. And it's headed in the same direction the Democratic Party's been trying to get us in for years. It's why I've been screaming for months to put the brakes on. It's why I've been screaming for months that we need real choices. Because at this point, folks, we are being given an illusion of choice. It's not a real choice. It's not. It's not even in the same ballpark as a real choice. I mean, look at Hillary Clinton. Let the email thing go for a minute, but start doing some serious looking into the things that have happened while she's been involved in politics, and how many things that they should be looking at that they're not because they're too busy looking at the email thing. Going back to the email thing for a second, why is it that Trey Gowdy lied to the American people when he told them, Trey Gowdy has been nicknamed the Bulldog of Benghazi? Yet he stood there and lied to the American people and told them that there were no assets anywhere near, in, or around Benghazi because the White House had already assumed that an evacuation was underway. We know that's not true because one of the people that died in Benghazi was using a laser designator. If you've ever bothered to look up any information about a laser designator, it's not the pointer that you get from Walmart, and it won't just turn on. In order for that light to shine, there has to be something there to receive the signal, otherwise it won't activate, because when you have it on, it actually gives away your position. So therefore, it won't allow you to just turn it on whenever you want. So in order for him to have been doing what he was doing, there had to be something there. And reports, even as far back as the day after, reported an AC-30 within orbit range, a drone somewhere within orbit range, and an RDF 90 minutes out. All of which were given stand-down orders. So I'm telling you, folks, we are being played. They are keeping us angry. They are keeping us at odds. And it's all because if they can keep us distracted, we don't notice the little ways that they're building up their power base. You wait. It's going to happen again because it's happened every other time there has been civil unrest. There will be something that gets snuck through, and we won't find out about it for about a week or so. Go back and look. Look at all the little things that have happened during all the other unrest. It's called bread and circuses. It was a tactic used in the Roman Empire during their declining days to keep the populace occupied, so they didn't realize just how bad off they were, while the Romans were still trying to do everything they could to hang on to power. We're in the same situation now, but nobody is talking about it. Because we can't, because that would be un-American, or there's no way the Republican Party's bad, Rick, or there's no way the Democratic Party's that bad, Rick. Really? Have you looked? I mean, not to quote an old Eddie Murphy Raw minute, but what have you done for me lately? Nothing. Except for make a bunch of promises that none of them have kept. Anybody remember what the Democrats said they were going to do when they wrested control of the House and the Senate from the Republicans? Have they done half of what they said they were going to do? When we went Pavlovian again and said, oh, that one didn't work, so let's go flip the other switch and see if anything changes. We gave control back to the Republicans because we listened to the Tea Party rhetoric and didn't realize that the PACs had already embedded themselves so deeply in the Tea Party that all we wound up getting was the same Republicans we didn't want in the first place because of all the money. There were maybe a handful of people brought about by the Tea Party that were worth a darn. Some of them got chewed up and spit out almost as soon as they came to power. The rest, all they really were doing at this point was shoring up their power base. If you'll look, folks, the only thing that honestly changes any time a party shift changes is where the money goes. They each have their own special interest groups. They take pot shots at the other one for their special interest groups, but their special interest groups are okay. Well, believe it or not, folks, we are out of time already. All right, so at this point, I have got to get out of here. For those of you listening to us live on KLRNradio.com, make sure you stay tuned for the Rhino Report. It'll be up in just a couple minutes. If you're listening to us elsewhere, such as Red Nation Rising Radio, the Liberty Channel, or SHR Media, or AMFM247.com, iHeart, etc. Check your local listings to see what's coming up next. I'll be back with you live tomorrow night for a double shot, first Jen and Rick, and then America Off the Rails. You guys have a great night, and God bless.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls? Start saving thousands in interest and fees and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.